Today I'm going to draw and paint this picture, which is my front door. And I thought, I'm thinking front door in winter is not a bad topic. And it's pretty easy, but my focus is going to be on drawing because there was just a comment on one of my other videos about drawing being such a useful skill and how it's not really doesn't really get a lot of attention nowadays when it's so easy to trace or to project or whatever. But I think it's really important to learn to draw well, and the best way to do that is to draw and draw and draw. So I'm going to do this, but first I thought I would show you some things that I got in Paris when I was there a couple of weeks ago. I went to a store called Montague, and the owner is an artist, and he does all these cute little things like this, little illustrations. I just bought these 2 postcards, but the reason is because I wanted to point out that these little illustrations go on everything in the shop. So he's got coffee mugs and little dishes and cards and all kinds of things, but just reuses all these little illustrations. So it goes to show you what you can do with very few things. Now this one is kind of a nod to the paint maker Sennelier, which is at number 3 Quai Voltaire. It's just like you go across a bridge and there's this little shop. He's just taken some of the things that you can buy in the shop, and I've been in the shop a few times and it's delightful. In fact, here's a couple of photographs. I bought these because it's a good way to capture ideas. So if you see something that's like, oh, I could do that, even if something such as I could store my things in an old suitcase, you can capture the idea. Anyway, I will leave that thought with you, and I'm going to draw with a 003 pen and just see what it looks like. Yeah, it's really fine. So I'm going to start by just putting some dots here so I can kind of do some measurements, and I could say, okay, this is that width. How does it compare to the width of, or the height of the door? So the door is about twice as wide or twice as high. So if I'm looking at this, then I can measure this and go, okay, 1, 2, there's where the door should end. And I'll do the same over here. Now, I guarantee you right off the bat here that this is not going to be a perfectly measured kind of picture. I'm really just not fussy about that. And over here, I've got my little wicker bench coming in at about here. Okay, so this is not a very exciting picture, but just wait and see how much difference it makes when you actually paint it. And also keep in mind, I don't really worry about not having completely straight lines. I actually think it gives character when they aren't completely straight. But notice that I'm not moving my hand, I'm moving my arm. And my measurements weren't exact, but that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So then we've got an interior kind of frame here. So I was shopping with a friend one time at Hobby Lobby, actually, and she said on the way home, she said, "You never buy very much." And I said, well, for one thing, my house is pretty full because I don't have a very big house, and I've kind of run out of spaces for things. I'm just kind of looking at the picture here. But one thing I really do shop for is ideas. Okay, this is where the bottom of the door is, and then there's a screen which goes to about here. And then I left the interior door open, so it's going like about 2/3 of the way across. And then I've got this little thing hanging over the door. And then you can see here that there's a reflection of the bush that's behind me when I took the picture, but I'm not going to put that in. I could, not going to. So here we're dealing a little bit with perspective. But my message here is you can use anything as a subject, and the very act of drawing it and painting it makes it beautiful. You'll notice that I'm noticing things about my front door by drawing it that I haven't noticed before. All right, over here I've got a door lamp, and then my mailbox is even with, the bottom of it is even with the top of this handle. Going back to the subject of shopping for ideas, if you are just open to things all the time, it's amazing what you discover. All right, that's good enough. Now, if it was summertime, I'd have hanging baskets and things like that, but of course it's winter and it's actually quite cold out. Okay, the first question is, how do you paint white? Paper is white, and the thing about ink and wash or watercolor in general is that you use the white of the paper for the white. So I could just say, well, this is white. What can I do with this? However, it's not actually white, at least not in the photograph. So I'm going to just start with this color. I want this pale purple, really pale. So I'll just keep adding water till it's pale enough. And then that's going to be the color of my white. We have amazing brains and eyes, and we fill in the blanks because of factors such as what color is around it. So all of this is my white around the door. So basically I'm just kind of slapping it on here. And other colors will kind of inform it. All right, so I'm going to put a little bit of this blue and a little bit of this blue. I think I mentioned this before, but sometimes you have the exact right color you want in your brush, but there's too much water for the space. So I just go like that, and that just sucks it out right away. Should probably use a smaller brush. In fact, yes, that's what I'm going to do. Just because, why make it hard when you don't need to? Some extra water off there. All right, this is supposed to be kind of gold. Even that has too much water for that tiny space. So I take some out of the brush, and then I use the brush to absorb it. This looks like a nice gold color. Perfect. So now I can use this tiny brush and do all this gold stuff like that. Now, and then when this is dry, I'll put some shadow inside that little. And I often use colors that are already on my palette, unless I'm starting something new and the colors are just not there. But often I'll just wash a bunch of them off and add new ones. And there's a little shadow there now. So even though it's tiny, you can see what it is. All right, let's get back to some of these things. Okay, here I have this thing in the doorway, which is a little bit more turquoise than that. So I'll mix some green into it. I'm kind of liking this color, which is browny burgundy color, but it's a good shadow color for this. For one thing, it's got purple in it. Now, of course, you don't need to paint this small or this fine a stuff if you don't want to, but sometimes I like painting really small. There, now you can see the shadow. Also, my door has these panels in it, which are a little bit of a nuisance because they're on an angle. So, and my door looks kind of blue rather than purple. So I'm just going to guess at these, and it'll probably be wrong, but don't worry about it. Don't send me nasty letters. See, it's a little bit crooked. Let's just pretend that that's in the right place. Okay, for the siding, since I'm working here in these purples and whatnot, I'm just going to indicate the siding because you don't really need to tell the whole story. It's almost like body language. So if you're reading a novel and it says, she looked at him and raised one eyebrow, it kind of gives you an idea that something's going on there. So in a way, this is similar because it's indicative. Kind of an ultramarine. This is not the color of my deck. I actually chose this color. And my husband used to be a house painter, so I took him to the paint store and said, this is the color I want. This is kind of close. And you can do dry brush, which is what you see here. See, the brush doesn't have much water in it. So you just kind of drag it over the surface of the paper and you get dry brush, and it's a really nice look. And all right, let's mix this properly. And this again is just kind of an indication. It's got a back leg there that I didn't draw. Okay, I am going to go back in and work on these shadows a little bit more. So on this one here, because it's like soft edges, and at the top it's soft edges, the whole thing is darker than the outside. So I'm just going to quickly put some water on this. And then I want to put a line along here that it indicates the shadow here. And kind of down here as well. And as we get farther into the house, the door is in more shadow. Now, do I need anything else here? I could go with my tiny brush and go around some of these little edges if I want, just to make them stand out a bit more. And as for the rest, the drawing takes care of it. Now, is this a very exciting drawing? Well, not really, no. It's just interesting because there's different things to look at. So when you look at this, you can go, okay, the front door, you might notice that I did the panels wrong. I could have left those off completely. The point is, you can draw anything. And every time you draw something, you notice more things, you learn more things. Drawing actually helps you notice more about your life, and everywhere you go and everything you look at, it helps you notice more. So if you carry a sketchbook, like perhaps one like this, or something smaller, like this, or one that's watercolor paper or mixed media like this, or even just a tiny one like this, you can sketch wherever you go. I highly recommend that if you want to become a better artist, or you want to just have something fun to do that you can be learning as you go along. It's good for your brain. So have fun with that and have a look at some of these other videos of mine, and I'll see you next time.